Hi guys, we're here again today to talk about this little beauty. This is the 4060 from Rainbow Inkjet. It's an A2 size bed. What we're going to do today is we're just going to run through some of the things you need to be aware of. Maybe just beforehand, size wise, just so that you can plan ahead. And then we'll step into some of the configuration and some of the setup that's going to be needed to be done. So first off, desk. Now I've just got mine on this IKEA slide out plastic drawers. It's not the most robust, but it's pretty darn strong. It is solid wood, unlike some of their stuff like these ones. Be careful, because that is like a hollow core, so they're not as, yeah, I wouldn't trust my printer on that. So with this, I did have this top, which is it's a kitchen worktop in the L shape, because I used to have my PC and stuff on it. So I just placed that on top, and then what I find is that actually, you know, it gives you plenty of storage underneath, as well as the height. It just comes above my knee. That then puts this bed about waist height, which is ideal for, you know, if I need to lean across and place things on. One thing to bear in mind, the machine is around about 1 meter by 1 meter. Now, you will see that these edge bits, although I say a meter that way, side to side, they're not sitting on this bench. These move up and down as you want to print higher materials. So these do not need to be on the bed, but make sure you keep enough clearance. You know, you don't want to be putting anything down there when you've hired the bed up. As you can see, so from here to there is around about 500 something, 550, 560 or something. My actual desk is somewhere a region of about 630, I think it is. It just allows a little bit either side, so I'll chuck a few little bits on. These are some of the things you're going to want to keep nearby it. Small screwdriver, because now and again you're going to want to get into this. Tape. I sometimes, like, I try to keep this wire framing because I do some slates at that size, the 300 by 200. I know that it is 30 millimeters from there and 30 millimeters from there. So I keep that one on there because it's only glass, so you know it will scratch off if I want it to scratch off, but that's handy if I want to just whack a slate on there and just away I go and print. What you can also do is you can tape things down. So if you've got a darker image, a black image even, you're not going to see it on here very easily. So just get some A4 paper and stick it down with a bit of masking tape. And then obviously you want the tape measure. It does come with a little paper one, but it's easier with that. This little thing, that's a bit of metal. Now, when you've got, let's say we got the piece of paper that we want to print to there, we'd place that on top of the material, and just around about there is a sensor. Now, when you are in the software, you can pull the head across, you can tell it to go down onto this metal, and it detects it and it puts it at the correct height. That's your best bet. You can manually do it, but that'll be your best bet. So, going back to size, be aware that although the bed looks like it's finished there, it will come out a good 20 centimeters more. Okay, so another 200 mil. Also on the back, allow plenty because it goes back 20 mil as well. 200 mil, 20 centimeters. This here, that's the first thing you want to be doing. Put some pure water in there, bottled water from your supermarket, just some still plain water in there. Fill it up, and what that does is it cools down the UV lights inside there. Your inks, they go up here, so you've got the white, you've got a varnish, you've got light magenta, light cyan, yellow, magenta, cyan and black. Fill these up. I would use up your ink and fill each one of them up, Be careful not to overflow them. Every now and again, just come back and give them a little shake. Make sure that they're not, you know, that they're not settling, the pigments of the ink ain't settling at the bottom. Give that shake. That will continually spin to make sure it's stirring up the white. This little thing down here, that is your waste cylinder. So every time you do a ink clean, it goes down into there. So what you'll have to do is, I've had to do it a couple of times now. What you do is just, it's got a little valve thing there. Flick it up, just like a tap. So that bit then will pull out. Be careful not to allow it to flick, because if it's up high, your ink will flick back and likely go on the wall. That then will allow you to pull this container right out and go and empty it. Keep an eye on it, and then obviously when you come back, make sure you put that tap back down in that position, just so that the ink will go back in there when you finish. I've got a bin because I did have a mishap once. I allowed it to almost overflow, and then when I took that out, it jolted a little bit. It came out the hole. So once you've got that nozzle out, maybe pop something over it, a bit of tissue or something under it like this, or a little bowl. Especially if you've got a desk that will come out a little bit more than what I've got, place a small bowl there. You can let that hang, and then when you take this out, just place your finger over that little hole. Then you don't spill it everywhere like I did. On this side, which we're talking on the right hand side of the machine, is where your power and power lead is. And also on the same side is where your USB plugs into. Now with mine, because mine needs to go all the way around into that computer there, what I have done is, this lead's only so long and it's connected via an extension. Now it's fine with most extensions, but don't go over, I think they say 10 meters, but if you need to, you then need to have a powered one. So you have got access panels. If you find that you push this one in, I have done that, you can actually very carefully pop that open and you'll reach it from the bottom corner down there. You can't really see with the light in. Just down in that corner is where that cylinder is. You can see inside there. Not a lot to these, but they're really robust machines. You don't need to do nothing in there. Everything else should be in order. Right, so when you first get it, you will have a couple of mounting bolts. I can't recall where they were. I think this bed was further back. Yeah, so this bed was to the back. And then if you see here, please remove this screw before turning on. Now, just in there, let me see if I can, just in there was a little L bracket, and it attached to there, supporting this bed. Again, there was another one, I believe, down there. There was 3 in total, so there was one on that side, and I think there was one on, yeah, there was, look, so there was one this side, so there's one on this side, one on the following side, and one on the bed. Just be aware to take them off before you operate the machine. So that's 3 L brackets. You can discard them afterwards, use them for a different project, whichever. So what you'll then find is the machine likely will not be fully connected up here. So if you can bear with me, I'm going to take this out. I know it says do not open, but you need to open it. So undone them 2 screws, those 2 screws, 2 screws at the front. That will enable me to take this front panel off. Now you got to be careful when you're mounting it back up, because you don't want to pinch these water hoses and any of these cables. This one, you don't have to take the screws right out because they're slotted at the bottom. Just loosen there, 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 there and there. And then this part will then also slide off the top. So, what you will find is that in your box of little goodies in with the printer, these print heads in here will be in there. I believe, I think these were already connected up here. I can't recall now, but there's the configuration. So you've got, over this side, you've got the white and the gloss, and over this side you've got the colour. Now, if you look carefully, I'll take these off a minute. These are labelled. So, R head, J4 down. I'll pop that up. It just slides out. As you can see, it says J4. It's the top left hand corner. And as you can see, the blue is on the underneath. Okay, so the blue looks into the middle. The bare wire goes up into the board there. And then the other one that's with it, also you can just pull it straight out, and then the blue is facing the middle and the pins are facing this way. And that one is labelled R head J3 up. So that's the right head into J3 up. So make sure you do these first ones first, the up, and then you know you're not going to get the other one wrong. They interlock, they cross over each other. Same goes for this side. Pull it up. And that one was labelled J6. J6, again with the same with the blue into the middle. J5, J5 up. Okay, so that's easy enough. It just interlocks like a crisscross. All these dampers also have little caps on the end. Just pop them off first. When you first get this as well, there are little rubber caps up inside. Let me see if I can find one that is out of the machine. Yep. Right, so these dampers are very delicate. As you can see, if you look at this one, you can see what they're made up of. They're not made up of a lot. And these sleeves, these have got sleeves on. You would take that sleeve off and place it back onto this one. So that little piece, let me see if I can put it on something white. No. That little piece on the end, it's a little cap. That pops off. I can't do it one-handed. But it pops off and just pulls out of there. And that little grey thing inside is a little rubber that goes onto the small spike that's in there. You just need to hold it side by side and push it down on. If you find at a later period you take these off for any reason, be aware that that rubber will likely stay on that spike. So when you come to put these on, they will keep popping off. That was another issue I had for some time, until the tech guy was able to sort of understand what I was going on about and tell me to then take the little grey rubber from on here and slide it into there first, and then place this on top. You will also see that if I just hold it there carefully, it's very hard, everything's black on black. Right, so you see that little clip at the top is mounted one way, it's on that left side. So if you look on here, that's a white on the left, that's a varnish on the right. In that far back corner, let me see if they all are facing that way, so with it on the right hand side towards the machine. You've got one varnish and then you've got 3 whites, giving a total of 4 at the back, 2 at the front. As with this one, you can pretty much see the colour coding. Now, are these labelled? What I did to find that out was I traced it back. so you can kind of just about make out like the colours. So light cyan back there is a blue sleeve, so I knew then that these were those particular colours. Now I'll try to find a picture somewhere to place up that will show which ones of these go where, so that you don't get confused. But so you got black, you got a blue, you got yellow, you got a magenta. I believe actually how I did find it out was that they was shorter sleeves. So the light magenta has a long sleeve and the magenta has short sleeves, and I think it tallied. So that was magenta, that's light magenta, and again it's the same principle. These two are wider apart and on the left, on the right, and then those ones at the back are towards the back. Okay, in some of the instructions you will find that they're using a syringe to pull the inks through. I didn't find that necessary. So if I was you, rather than making a mess pulling things, because you do not want to get ink on these. You get it on these and you'll damage your head, and then you'll have to replace the head. They won't cover the head. So try to keep this as clean as possible. Your best bet would be to assemble it, get these cables in place, and with these off, you don't need to put these on for testing. You can keep them off all the time if you want. It's just a prettiness, really. It just tidies it up. When you have it all assembled, you can use the software to do a clean, to do a flash, I think they call it, where you're flashing a large amount of ink through. But just be aware that when you press that flash button, it doesn't turn off automatically. So don't forget about it, because I think I lost a bit of ink doing that before, right? Just leaving it and thinking, well, this is taking a while. Make sure you shut it off. So you should be able to get it through like that. And with a few cleans, we'll do some tests, and then you should be able to see that it's clean then. So I'm going to reassemble this, and I will be back to you. Just quickly, before I fully assemble it, it doesn't really matter whether you put this one over first or this one over first. Just get the ones, you know, which feels more comfortable. They should clamp in a little bit. Just be careful when you put in, especially when you're putting the last one in, when you've already got two in, and then you've got your third, and then you try to put this fourth in. They're really quite, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more slack on those, just a little bit, because when you've got this cover on anyway, it's going to keep this protected. But the last thing you want to be doing is pushing all these cables in. While we've got this apart, this is that sensor I was on about. Now, it can be quite difficult to see where it is when you've got this cover on. So I may at a later stage put some, it's about there. As you can see, there's the screw hole, and it's just to the side of it. So it is about here. So you can either just remember that, or I might put a little mark there just to jog my memory a little bit, because, you know, sometimes you press the left on the software and it doesn't always, it might move really little bits one time, and then suddenly it'll move big, and then you try to put it back and it moves big, and it's like there's always sometimes that little bit in between that you think, am I going to hit the sensor or not? So maybe it's wise to put a couple of lines where the start and the end of it is once it's assembled. Just a bit of marker, it won't hurt. Or if you've got any of the film, which Rainbow Inkjet do supply as well, that's good for items like, I could print flat onto that. If I mounted that up, I could print with this machine on top there. But if I wanted to do around there, that would be very, very difficult on that object. So you can get this film that's a cold film that you can just stick. It's like a sticker, really. You stick it on there afterwards and print on there onto the film, and then stick it onto there afterwards. So I might do that with that, because I'm going to get some film in the new year. So yeah, while it's apart, that's your UV light, and that's your UV light. This one generally comes on when it's going across for the colour, and this one generally comes on for the varnish. I don't know if that's just because of the configuration I got, but so don't be alarmed. it's in the software that you got to make sure that it's lighting it up enough, because at the very start I had it where the ink would not dry fully, and it was because this light wasn't lighting up in the right place. So if my image was on this side of the bed, it was lighting over there, and it's just a software thing. So don't mess with nothing right now. That's your water, obviously water tubes. Try not to disturb them once they're in. Keep everything as clean as possible. Generally, don't be daunted on it. You don't have to touch a lot with that. It looks a lot, but it's not that bad. So I'm going to assemble my covers, and I will come back when I've done that. Right, so there she is, back together. Oh, nicely pretty again. A few things to run over. Here's a few things I haven't really looked at yet. Rotary and flat form. I've always had it on flat form. When you load up the software actually asks you if you're using a rotary or a flat. It's generally defaulted to flat. If you're going to obviously use the rotary, flick that over to rotary. That will enable you to connect one of these. These then, I haven't done it yet, but these then mount to the bed. I will do another video when I've actually got that far with this. But I know that it plugs in, the rotary connects just there, and then it's mounted to this bed. Looking at the design, that would be to the back, because obviously that's where that will go, and this will sit on this bed like so, but it will screw back there, because obviously this, I can't do it at the moment because the bed is lowered, but when the bed is higher, this will sit underneath there, and these three screws will obviously match to these. Maybe, I think it's these is where it will go to. Now it does come with a large bag of accessories, and looking at those screws, it wouldn't be sufficient to put them on there. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'll make a separate video when I get down to this stage, but it's been quite an amount to learn already so far, so I haven't gone down that rate. Other things to be aware of: these lamps, they tell you to put them at 100. They don't get to 100, sadly. They go from 0. Just put it to full. Same with this one, 0 to full. It's about 85, 90. That's as far as you need to go with it. Obviously, when you're moving it, try to make sure you use these handles. There's one on either corner. That will make it a little bit easier, but it's heavy as hell. Start and stop. Mine came damaged, sadly, but I've got a replacement. I just haven't fitted it yet. When I turn it on, might get noisy. You'll see it shows the temperature, and it homes itself, and you can't do a lot, so don't be alarmed. If I try to, I don't know, move the platform, as you can see, nothing happens, but you need to configure it to the software. So I think that's everything that you need to be checking. You don't need to touch anything there. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll go over to the software, and we will run through some of the software settings and let you see my settings, and hopefully if you have the A2 like mine, same model and everything, you should be able to pretty much copy my settings and you should be good to go. So what we're going to run up on now is the software side of just this well print. Obviously there's a few other pieces of software which I'll go through later, but this is just for the settings to get your printer to work. So we're going to go into well print, Now be aware that you do need to have the little red USB stick plugged in right at this moment. As you can see, there's two functions, flat or rotary. We're going to keep it on flat and we're going to hit OK. We're going to wait for it to load. Now as you can see, it's loaded up, but currently it says initialize printer failure. That's because the printer isn't on. So if I now turn the printer on, give it a few moments. It should connect. Success. There we go. Printer is ready. So, let's go over to maintenance. On this tab of the BIOS calibration, first things first is I had to change these head settings down here. Now, keep in mind that mine says 1207. I didn't need to change this. You may or may not have to. So my suggestion would be is to understand what settings you have here and make a note of them. I had to change these ones here, so I had to put that as -80, -270, that one is 280, and that one is 80. So be aware that there's minuses in front of those two, none in front of them two, and then the rest are all on open. Motion settings. Now with these will be different from yours. You will find initially your whole machine is really slow to move. Now I can go over to the machine now and move the bed and it moves relatively fast. I would change your settings to these, but what you do also need to do is you need to configure the X motion. What I mean by that is, let me pull up my camera, and I am going to just position my bed back into the middle just for this demonstration. As you can see, if I press back, it goes back. If I press feed, it comes forward. And then obviously left and right. If I hit left, if you hear that, that's where the two little things underneath the head are moving down, and then you can press the left again and it will move across the bed as so which you need. And then the homing button sends that one home. We'll leave it in the home position to protect the heads. And the X-axis is this one. So if you hit if we go 300, you will see the machine move. And then what you'll want to do is just hit the reposition. Is this one. So if you hit if we go 300, you'll see the machine move, and then it sends it back, and then that configures that. The Y-axis, we're going to do the same. We're going to put 300 in there. We're going to put the tape on in position of where the front of that little bit of plastic is. I'm going to hit move. And by hitting move, we'll see the bed move. And then what we need to be doing is measuring from the front of there to the bed there. Which, as you can see, for me, is the 300. If it isn't, you need to tell it how much it moved into there, into the run box, and then hit calculate. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess my settings up. So with the Z, it is these bits that move up. So we want to measure. I am currently on around about 47 millimeters. we're going to tell it to go 100. It will start moving up 100 mil. So we should then be at 147. And that's good enough for me. It's just about there, 148. Okay. Whilst we're here, we are going to go to platform control, and we will press the left to bring that bed across. And as you recall I saying earlier, the sensor is about there. I think if we just chuck you under there, you can just see that yellow piece of material there. We are going to place this in line with that. I'm just going to put it lengthways so I know I don't miss it. And now we hit the down button to set the automatic height. Press and hold it, and don't panic because it will stop. There we go, and that will be the optimal height. Don't pull your metal out there, because especially if you've got it on some sort of material or something that could scratch. Press home, get the bed out of the way, get that out of the way and take that off. And that would be configured to the correct height of what your material would be. I don't think we need to do anything else there. White ink time set. That's my settings there. I don't believe I've changed that. Cleaning options. There are my settings. I had to change this one. It was 5,700 something. But what the problem was in underneath the two print heads, there is it's like a squeegee, like a rubber squeegee that scrapes any ink off. It was cleaning the front one off, the white, but the colour, it would only go so far across and then stop. So I had to increase that. So to make it go further across, it was 6,500. As for here, I don't think I've had to change any of these, but there are my settings. Voltage settings I didn't have to change. Basic settings. Okay, so as with the white ink being underneath the color, you need them to line up correctly. This is where you do that. I'll be honest, I needed the tech guy to do this bit, but that's how I got mine to line up correctly. He's put an offset in like that, and that seemed to do the trick. So we did maintenance, parameters. In parameters here, you've got the white ink setting. Now, I always leave mine on spot, but obviously if you're only going to be printing certain, you can change it here, but if you leave it on spot, just on the print all, you've got a choice of doing color and white, color and light, light being varnish, only white and only light. So if you've done your print with color and then you find that you need to put a varnish over the top, you could just do the light, and that will only do that. If you're printing onto any object that isn't see-through, that you don't want it to be coming through the backside, you leave this one unticked. If, say for instance, you've got some acrylic or some glass that you want to print onto the inside so that the image can be portrayed through the glass or through the acrylic, but you don't want it to be a transparent image, you tick this box, and then what that will do is it will put the color down first, and then it will place the white over the top. I don't use or change any of these. I think he changed something here. I can't be 100% sure, but there are my settings in the parameters. And in the print control, this is where you tell it where you want your your item to start printing. And as you see, my margin at the moment is 0 and 0. So 0 margin width, and then I've ticked the Y margin and 0.00 there. That means it will print it if you change these to 30 and 30. If you're just printing 1 or 2 items, I would suggest pulling the margin out a little bit, and all the way along there, and all the way along there. Mine 30mm by 30mm. Presumably you lower that speed, the slower it goes, the better quality you get. But I found that even on high set, it's a beautiful finish. Again, you can have it print when it's going across to the left, or print when it's going to the right, or bidirectional means it will print when the head's going across and then when it's coming back. So it's printing twice as much at one time, so you're again not getting the better quality of them all. So I generally do to the left and high speed. If it's nothing too major, I might just do bidirectional just to get it through them fast. If we open a file, so with this program, what we suggest is if you go to your desktop and then create a folder called RIP, all of the files that you've configured to work with your printer will be in this folder. So if I go back in here and I go open, I can choose one. So what can we choose? Let's do this one. So I've labeled this one Gnome Couple Merry Christmas, new with W1 and W2. W1 means white, W2 is a varnish or gloss as such. So we'll do that, and then there's our image. Now what we can do is we can select regional, and we can move these boxes in and only print so much of the image. So if we wanted to, we could just print him as such, like that. But if you untick that, it'll print the whole that you've already configured it to be. Ink statistics, this gives you an idea of how much ink it's actually going to use to print that image there. So you can see small amounts of black and blue, a fair bit of normal magenta, a smaller amount of yellow, hardly any light magenta, light cyan, and hardly any light magenta. That is your white, and that is your gloss. We just close that down, and we can hit OK. It gives you some information here that it's going to be 100 by 150. We click OK, and currently as it stands, if I pull that up, there's our image. Now it is going to print 30 by 30, so let's put a piece of paper on our print bed and we'll do a few other checks now. Right, so before I get ahead of myself, I'm going to do a test. Now I've only turned this on for the first time today. In general terms, they say give it a clean before you run it up for the day. Also, you're meant to give it a clean when you finish it for the day. This flash here will give a burst of ink coming in. Be careful, because when you press on this, it doesn't turn itself off. You will see down in the bottom here it says flash jetting off. That will go to on and green, but it will stay on. So you'll be pouring your ink away into the waste container. The last thing you want to do is overfill it and or just waste your ink. So do a flash for maybe 5 seconds, and then we'll try to do a test. But we're just going to do a test so that you can see how it is straight from me turning it on today. We'll hit head status, and now it should print. So as you can see, it missed a little bit. My test has fired it down there, but what you can see is you've got a little bit, a few spots here a few here, a couple here. In general terms though, it's not too bad. But we're going to give it one clean. So to give it one clean, we're going to hit the clean button, we're going to go normal, and we're going to hit 2 heads. You will hear all these type of noises. Again, like I said, you really want to be checking this. I will not be doing any more cleans until I've emptied this, because I know it's getting full. My advice, if you're like myself in my office, maybe fire a bin or something on top, so that if you have a spill out, it can catch it. Or if you've got a desk, just place a small bowl under there. It's just a backup really. There's nothing worse than getting ink places, because you're not going to get it off. So that's done. Oh no, it hasn't quite finished. You know when it's finished because the test button will become available on the software. So there we go. We can hit the test. So we can hit the test button now. Let's see if we cannot just move our margins up somewhat. 100 and hit test, and then head status. What I did was I told it to move the Y carriage up 100 so it don't print over the top. And now it should print just like so. And again, still some sections that are missing, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to print with it just to give you an indication of how it will look when it's like that. Now as you can see, I did do some, this was tests before, so probably not going to get the good colour, but that's what it was like before I did a clean. And then when I did a clean, you can see the red on his hat is way more to the right colour. So it is important to give it a clean. Likelihood is we're going to find that this is going to show a slightly different colour, because it isn't too bad, I guess. It's better than what it was. But again, if you're going to be running a production that day, you definitely want to be doing a proper clean, getting it as clean as you can, maybe running a couple of cleans. You also want to be cleaning these off as well. What these do is they higher up into the print head, and then they will suck the ink down through, and that goes into the waste. Now, it's definitely better off to keep these clean when you do a proper clean. Now, I haven't been cleaning it every single day, but in general terms, I'm not really using it massively amounts. So, as you can see, it's now printing the gnome. Going back to these, just get you'll get a cleaning solution with the printer, likely would be. I had it as a free gift, I think, and just pour some of it into a small container, use some cotton buds or something, and just clean it up. There we go. And this is obviously only onto paper, so this is just to show you what it'll look like on the software. You can see that it is actually only halfway up, it's just by the Christmas, whereas if I show you on the print, it's almost finished. That is because there's two different there's obviously a varnish connected as well. So this will show halfway up, and then it will restart in a minute, and it will continue to go up through. It's a silly way of doing it. I wish they had it so that the line would continue up to the very top and then start again. And even if it just said something past 1 of 2 or page 1 of 2, anything like that, it would have been a little bit more clearer. So don't think that's a live print, because it isn't. It'll only go halfway when you've got varnish. And there you go. You can actually see that it's a pretty darn good print anyway, even with those lines. So you can generally see that it's not bad. Just pin it the last little bit. And now it's going back because it's going to go over with the varnish. So you saw that this UV light was lit up, and now the right hand side is lit up, and it's going over it again with a varnish now. So in the left hand box there, where you can see the print progress at 61%, 62% now, just underneath that is the printing time that it's taken to print this, currently at 4 minutes and 53 seconds. So you can see, even doing it just one direction, it's a fast machine. Now I have printed a 40 by 50, which is obviously 400 millimeters by 500 millimeters canvas. I did that one direction with varnish. I think it was taking 15 minutes a pass, so 15-18 minutes. So all in all, yes, for a whole print with varnish, with white, it was around about 40 minutes, 35 minutes. But it's a beautiful large, it's the size of the bed, so it's a beautiful large image. And again, I did do white. I felt it gave that little sharper print, but nothing major. And also when you do the varnish on top of the canvas, I haven't really noticed a difference. So if you don't need that, I reckon you'd probably be able to cut that time down to about 10 to 15 minutes per large format canvas. And when you look at that size generally will go for about 40 to 50, 55 pounds in the UK. So it's a good little money earner if you can whack a few of those through per hour. So we're at 81% now. Another indication, when I showed you just a moment ago about the colour, when you look into the ink statistics, it shows that you have white on there and the varnish. Also, just up there in file information, you can actually see that it says 8 colours. That will be somewhere in the region of 6 colours if you're only doing normal colours. So that's another thing to look out for. It's got the extra colours for the white and the varnish. Right, so we're at 89% now. We're going to go back to the machine. As you can see, it's hard to really... I'll turn the machine off and then you'll be able to hear. But it's a beautiful finish. It's a slightly embossed. Now, I have seen embossed. What you can do is, if you want it to be more embossed than this, if you just run a couple of white bottom layers first and then run this, you can have 2 to 3 white layers, then you colour, and that will emboss it even more. There we go, 100%. Wait for the fit. Yeah, so that's finished. So we're going to turn her off. Don't need to shout so much. As you can hear, going over the top of it is slightly embossed. It's a beautiful finish. It's hard to capture how nice a finish it really is on camera, but that's a beautiful finish. So that pretty much wraps this up. Print has ended. Came out beautiful. There isn't nothing else more to really know about this software. What you can do, and what I had problems with at the start, was that if you go to System and Dongle Manager, when it wants to bring it up, let me try that again. I've just taken my dongle out, and at the top you can see dongle not detected. I put it down in again. Now that's gone. System, Dongle Manager. Why isn't it showing it? Let me put the printer on. Printer connected. Dongle Manager. Okay, well. Well, that's a new one on me. With Dongle Manager, it shows you if your dongle is actually correctly configured and if it's actually got the correct codes on there. My problem was that it didn't come with the correct codes, so it kept running out, and I had to keep going back to the tech guy, who then gave me some codes, but he didn't really explain that it was you had to use all 3 codes, one after another, and then it unlocks the dongle completely, the software completely. So now I've got a fully fledged software, and this will continue to run for years and years. Whereas when I kept putting one passcode in, it would only give me about 20 days. So be aware that if you're having issues like that, get onto them and get the passcodes, and they will actually give you the correct passcodes. But it might be just that I had a funny USB stick. I don't know that, and it's sorted now, so I don't really touch anything else here. This is my version. So there you have it. Beautiful finished print, and when you actually add it onto different products, it's amazing. Then you've also got the added extras. Don't forget that Rainbow Inkjets also supply printable film. That will enable you to place, it's kind of like printing out your own stickers. So you can then go and place it onto your car or onto your controller for your game console. Generally it's all funny shapes and curves. With that you will be able to get yourself a template online somewhere, make your own design, or find a design, purchase a design online, print it and stick it on, just like you would if you was to contact a company and do them and purchase one. What else is there? Keep in mind there are various different inks for these printers. Although you'd think that it would just be one set of inks, you can get a hard ink and a soft ink. I've got the hard ink, and the way that really you can go by is that hard inks are for hard devices, so hard products. So wood, glass, acrylic, anything that is firm, that is non-stretchable. If you want to print to fabrics, you will need, or I think they mentioned a balloon. If you want to print onto balloons, you will need the soft inks. So my advice to you is think about your product line. If you haven't already got a product line, think about what you will want to do first. I knew I wanted to do slates and wooden objects and different things like that, so I needed the hard inks. What I'm likely going to do is, it will be nice to be able to do t-shirts and stuff. If I do that in the future, rather than messing around, because if you change inks you can cause blockages and stuff, I think best bet, if you build on your business or whatever you're going to use the machine first on one set of inks, for what you will make back if you sell the products, then I can't see why you wouldn't be able to afford to buy a second machine, even if it's just a slightly smaller model. You should be able to then have a second set of inks in there, have one with soft, one with hard, and you're away. You've got the best of both worlds. That's what I'm going to be doing anyway. Anyway guys, thanks for joining me. Sorry it's a bit of a waffle, it was a bit going on, but I just wanted, I had a couple of months of stress as such. I was busy and stressful in my own daily job, and then I was trying to come home and deal with this. Problem is, China is 7 hours in different time scale, and it was trying to catch the tech guy in his working hours, so it was difficult. But we got there. It's a beautiful machine. They give me brilliant support. I highly recommend them. Thanks again guys. See you on the next one.